So we've been keeping up with the LPot community and their Being Alone series, right? And it's almost done.
Yeah.
So we thought this is the perfect time to really do like a deep dive into what they've been talking about.
Oh, for sure.
You know, about being alone and all that.
Okay.
Like, how can we really just unpack all this stuff about using solitude to really figure out who you are and to accept yourself and actually, you know, even like yourself more being alone?
Totally. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things looking back at the whole series is how they connect, like, knowing yourself and loving yourself with being comfortable being alone.
Yeah.
And they have that analogy about, you know, being alone, and it's like learning to love who you see in the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that really stuck with me because it's all about that relationship you have with yourself, you know?
Yeah, and they really emphasize that a big part of that whole journey is being authentic.
Exactly.
It's not about, you know, trying to fit in.
Right.
It's about being who you are, especially when you're alone and everything kind of quiets down.
It's like all the pressure goes away.
Okay. So let's get into some of the specifics.
Okay.
The series had 4 key aspects of like embracing authenticity through being alone.
Mm.
And the first one was discovering your true self.
Yes. And that's where intentionally being alone can be really powerful, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Because when all those voices and opinions and expectations quiet down, that's when your own inner voice can be heard.
Yeah.
You can tune into who you really are without all the outside noise.
Yeah.
And the series suggested some practical things to help with that.
Okay.
Like journaling, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe you could just spend like 10 minutes a day thinking about, you know, what activities really give you energy without thinking about, you know, what you'll get out of them or what other people think.
Right, right.
Just what you're truly passionate about.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. What do you think about that idea of like intentionally reflecting on yourself?
I think the important thing is to actually use that time when you're alone.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, just letting it slip by.
Exactly.
And that kind of leads us to the second point.
Okay.
Letting go of needing approval.
Right.
Because a lot of what we do is, you know, trying to get other people to like us or be impressed by us.
Absolutely.
And when you think about it, always needing that approval from others can really mess with your own judgment and what you actually want.
Totally.
Being alone gives you the space to step away from those expectations and just trust your gut, you know?
Yeah, just go with your instincts.
And the series even suggested like trying to make a small decision based only on what you want.
Yeah.
Not on what you think other people want you to do.
It's like taking back control.
Yeah, like finding your own inner compass.
Exactly.
That totally makes sense. All right, so the third thing they talked about was expressing yourself freely.
Oh, yeah.
And this seems like a really cool benefit of being alone.
It is. It's super freeing. Like, imagine being alone is like this judgment-free zone for your creativity.
Okay.
Whether you're writing or painting or playing music or even like trying out different clothes in your room.
Right.
Nobody's watching you. There's no pressure to be good or impress anyone.
No critics.
And the series encouraged people to do these things just for the pure joy of it.
Yeah.
Just for the fun of exploring and expressing yourself.
Like just for you.
Exactly. And that can be a really powerful way to connect with parts of yourself that you didn't even know were there.
That really resonates with me.
Yeah.
And the last point in the series was defining your own path, which feels like the culmination of all the other 3.
I agree. It's like they all lead up to that.
We're always being told what success is supposed to look like.
Right.
And what a good life should be.
It's like this constant pressure.
Yeah. And being alone gives you that space to step back and question all of that and figure out what really makes you happy.
Exactly. You get to decide what truly fulfills you.
On your own terms.
And it doesn't have to be this huge overnight change.
Right.
The series made a good point about just taking small steps towards what you really want.
Yeah, one little step at a time.
Exactly.
So as the LPot Community's series comes to an end, it seems like the big takeaway is that being alone isn't about being lonely.
Right.
It's about actively discovering who you are and accepting yourself.
And ultimately feeling more comfortable with yourself.
Exactly.
So as you think about everything we've talked about today,
maybe
the most important thing for you to consider is this.
Okay.
What's one small thing you can do today, even with everything else going on in your life?
Right.
To connect with your values and what you really want.
Like separate from what everyone else is telling me.
Exactly. What's one little step you can take towards really knowing and embracing who you are?
When nobody else is around.
When you're all alone.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great question to think about.
It is.
It really is.
I hope you'll give it some thought.
Me too.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.